This is your coffee.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. No.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد. We give praise and thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him for His numerous favors and bounties for which He blessed us, and we seek His mercy and His forgiveness and His guidance. For he whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, there is none who can mislead them, and he whom He leads astray, there is none who can guide them. We bear witness and testify that there is none worthy to worship but Allah. He is alone, and He hath no associate or partner. And we bear witness and testify that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His final servant and messenger sent to all mankind. Inshallah, we continue or look at Surah Yusuf, Surah 12 from the Quran. On our last session, we reached up to Ayah 68. So today, inshallah, we'll be looking from Surah 16, Ayah 69. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ولما دخلوا على يوسف آوى إليه أخاه قال إني أنا أخوك فلا تبتئس بما كانوا يعملون. فلما جهزهم بجهازهم جعل السقاية في رحل أخيه ثم أذن مؤذن أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون. قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون؟ قالوا نفقد سواء الملك ولمن جاء به حمل بعير وأنا به زعيم. قالوا تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض وما كنا سارقين. قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين؟ قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. فبدأ بأوعيتهم قبل وعاء أخيه ثم استخرجها من وعاء أخيه كذلك كدنا ليوسف ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء الله نرفع درجات من نشاء ومن فوق كل ذي علم عليم. Translation reads, and when they went in before Yusuf, he took his brother Benjamin to himself and said, Verily, I am your brother, so grieve not for what they used to do. So when he had furnished them forth with their provisions, he put the gold in his brother's bag. Then a crier cried, and the crier cried, O you in the caravan, surely you are thieves. They turned towards them and said, What is it that you have lost? They said, We have lost the bowl of the king, and for him who produces it is the reward of a camel load, and we will be bounded by it. They said, By Allah, indeed you know that we came not to make mischief in the land, and we are no thieves. They said, What then shall be the penalty of him if you are proved to be liars? They said, His penalty shall be he in whose bag it is found, should be held for the punishment of the crime. Thus we punish the Zalimeen. So Yusuf searched their bags before the bag of his brother. Then he brought it out of his brother's bag. Thus did we plan for Yusuf. He could not take his brother by the law of the king, except that Allah willed it. We raise in degrees whom we will, but over all those endowed with knowledge is the all-knowing. As we continue the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, we see that the brothers, they return to Yusuf, they return with their brother Benjamin, as he had demanded from them. They returned with their brother Benjamin. When they came to Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he greeted them and he treated his brothers with great honor, like honored guests. He treated them like honored guests, and he was kind and generous to them, and he made them feel very comfortable and at ease in his presence as he hosted them. And said that he gave them lodging, and for each two of them he gave them a room to stay together. And of course, there's 9 of them, so the odd one was his brother Benjamin, and he had Benjamin stayed with him in his quarters, because he wanted to be able to talk to him privately and so on. And so his brother stayed with him, and while he was in private quarters with his brother Benjamin, he confided in him and told him his whole story. He confided in him, in Benjamin, and told him his story, what happened to him and what his brothers and who he was, and so on. So he became fully aware who he was, and consoled him that he should not do not feel distress over how they treated him, because they didn't treat Benjamin well either. Not only did not they did what they did to Yusuf, but they didn't used to treat Benjamin very well either, because both brothers, they didn't like both brothers. So he said, do not be grieved, do not be grieved or be sad over them, or even what they did to me, just don't bother about it, and don't worry about it, and but don't let them know what I tell you. Keep it to yourself. Don't let them know what I tell you is happening. Because at that point, Yusuf al-Islam still didn't want them to know who he was. He didn't want them to know who he was. And so he asked his brother to keep the information secret to him. And but of course, it is said that his brother Benjamin, after he understood that this was his lost brother and big brother, and he really, he feel comfortable. They said that Benjamin asked him to stay with him, that he can stay. But of course, Yusuf ﷺ knew he could not keep him just like that. Right? He could not keep him just like that in Egypt, and he would have to return to his father. And so they discussed a plan. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them, and they discussed a plan on how they can sort this out, how they can work things out, how they can work it out. فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ. When he got them to furnish them with all the provisions and give them all that they need, that to carry. He gave them all that they need to take with them. Says, جَعَلَ السِّقَايَةَ فِي رَحْلِ أَخِيهِ. He placed the cup or the bowl, the sikaya, and it mentioned sawa' in one place, as we mentioned, and sikaya, that he placed it in the bags. He placed it in the bag of his brother. He placed it in the saddle bag of his brother. في رحل أخيه. Rahl is the bag that we saddle bag put over the animal. So he put it in the saddle bag of his animal without him knowing. So without anybody knowing. Of course, Benjamin was aware of the plan. He was aware of the whole plan that Yusuf told him, so that he should not expose anything. He knew of this. So he put it in his bag, and then the herald, the one who normally makes the big announcements, called out to them as they are about to leave. Right? So let them all get ready, and they're about to take off. And as they setting off, the herald called out to them, "Oh, you people of the caravan, you are thieves. You people are thieves." And they call up to them. So Yusuf, he gave them full provision. He gave them full provision. He gave them, so they feel comfortable, they feel happy with Yusuf, they feel well. And so, he gave them full provisions, and he gave them stuff to take with them, food and all of this, and to make them comfortable. So when they're about to leave, he called the prayer call. Of course, they said, prayer call to them, and they were a bit taken back by this. They were taken back. Brothers, they were actually a bit incensed that they were being accused of this, of being thieves in this manner. They were a bit incensed on that they're being called thieves, And so they responded to the call, to the cry. So what you lost? What is it that you lost? What is it that you lost that you accused him of this? Qalu, and so he responded as they turned around to him and asked, Qalu nafkudu suwa malik. We lost the cup or the bowl of the king. Right? وَلِمَنْ جَاءَ بِهِ حِمْلُ بَعِيرٍ. And whoever produces it, he will give him a camel load of provision. وَأَنَا بِهِ الزَّعِيمُ. And we guarantee, I guarantee this. When we look at the different tafsirs of it, the Tafsir, Tabari and Qurtubi and the others, some says that it was a drinking cup. Some say it was a bowl. Some of them say that it was made of gold. Some of them say it was made of silver. There's a whole lot of things that they mention about it. Allah knows best exactly what it was, but they all differ as to what it was. But it was, in any way, it was something of value. Right? It was of value. That's basically what we can gather from it, from all the different things that they mentioned. Some say it was the official measuring utensil of the king that officially established to give him measure, that we give measure. These are all the different statements that is said if we reading the Tafsir. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, as I said. We know for sure it's something of value. It was not just any old jug or cup. It was something valuable that was there. That's basically what we can extend from that. And just a side note on this, that this particular part of the ayah, it is part of the evidences used in fiqh, mu'amalat, for Ju'ala, as they call it. Ju'ala is where you establish you set like a reward for something. You say, I give a reward for anyone who dig this well, or a reward for anyone who finds this, or a reward for this, and there's specific rules. It's called Ja'ala in Islamic in fiqh. And of course, it must be a specific amount that something is said, something that's identifiable, something that is transferable, and all the different rules in relation to Ja'ala that it is that you have. So this is one of the evidences used for Ja'ala. Also, this particular same ayah, Subhana bihi Za'im, also is part of the evidence used for the principle of guaranteeship. Guaranteeship, wakala, or daman, that security, like, some person become a guarantor for somebody else. This person takes some money and he becomes a guarantee, and I guarantee he'll pay back. Or this person is accused of something and he has to travel, and he says, I'll guarantee his return. Right? Or like how people are with security with the bonds, that you guarantee this person is going to come back to court. So with that, in the rules, the specific rules, that the one who guarantees stuff like this, the creditor, the one who the stuff he can take his property from the one that gave it to, or from the guarantor. And if you take it from the one who guarantees it, then the guarantor has the right to take it from the person. So this just a side point, just to bring it out, so you know that this is part. This scholars use and also in fiqh these principles here. So he guarantees that they will get the thing. قالوا تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض. And the brothers, they responded. It says, تالله, they swear by Allah. They swear by Allah. We can only swear as believers. We can only swear by Allah. We can't swear by anything or anyone. It's shirk to swear by anything or anyone other than Allah. Alright, so we can swear by Allah, we can swear by His names, we can swear by His attributes, and so on. We can't swear by anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the creator and owner, master of everything. He can swear by whatever he wants, whatever he wills. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Shams, He swears by the sun, Wal Qamar, He swears by the moon, Wan Nahar, He swears by the day. I mean, Allah swears, by anything because Allah subhanahu is the owner, master of it. So He can swear but we as believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're only allowed to swear by Allah. So we can say, Wallahi, Tallahi, and so on, Billahi, we can swear by Allah only. Alright? So they swore by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Said Tallahi, they swear by Allah. Ma alamtum ma ji'na li-nufsida. You know that we didn't come to create any mischief in the land, right? Based on our conduct. I mean, in other words, you know us. This is not the first time we come. This is not the first time that we interact with you. So you know what kind of people we are. You know we're not, our character is good. We're good people. So you know who we are. And we are not mischief makers. We are not mischief makers. We don't come, and for certainty, we are not thieves. That's not our background. That's who we are. You know us, right? Because alimtum, you know that we're not like this, right? So why you making these kind of accusations to us? Why are you making these kind of accusations? And so the callers, Yusuf's men responded to them. قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين. So they said, they responded to them, and they said, then what will be the penalty for him if you are proved to be liars? In other words, you can put up whatever argument you want. We lost this stuff. This thing is stolen. Right? The king's cup is stolen. That is the reality. So you can argue what you want. It's stolen. Right? And you're the ones that, the only ones that is there. So you can argue. Arguing is not going to help you. Because if the stolen item is found with one of you, what then will be the punishment? What should be his punishment? Right? If what you prove to be liars and we find this thing with you, what should we do to the one that we find it with them? What should we do to it? And so they had to respond to it. They said, قالوا جزاؤه ما وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. He replied, its penalty is that he in whose saddlebag it is found, he is held as a punishment for this. And this is how we punish wrongdoers. And so from this we see that the brothers of Yusuf, they responded, they unhesitatingly responded with, in this manner, mention what the punishment according to their law, how they normally punish their people for stealing. what they normally do. So they were forthcoming with it, and so they put it up front. This is what we would do. This is what we normally do, right? He would be held accountable on his own for it. So, of course, they were forthcoming with this because they felt comfortable. They felt safe that nobody had it. They didn't have it. Nobody in their group had it. They didn't believe that. They didn't. So they were able to because they believe it. They didn't have it. And so this was they mentioned what was the law according to their own law, right? What was according to the law of the time of the father Yaqub. What was the Sharia? According to the Sharia of Yaqub at that time, was that the individual who steals, that if he cannot make restitution, that is, he can't furnish the thing, then he's held as a bondsman. Right? He's held as a bondsman for 1 year. He's held in captivity as a slave for 1 year to work off his thing. So that was the law, all right, which was completely different from the Egyptian law at the time. Egyptian law at the time, that if a person stole, they would whip the person, and then the individual had to pay double the price of the object that they stole, and then they set them free. Once they punish them and they pay the price of the object that was stolen, double the price, then they're set free. They can go their way, right? But in the law of the Sharia of Yaqub was that person be held. That person will be held. And so this is basically what Yusuf wanted, right? He wanted to be able to take his brother, because according to Egyptian law, he would not have been able to do so. So they said so. When the whole thing settled down and with this, Kalu, they said that whoever is from, this is how we punish them. And so, so Yusuf alayhi salam, instead of beginning with his brother, he knows where it is, he knows what's happening. But to throw off suspicion that they were being set up, he started with his brothers, right? He started with the brothers' bags first, all right? So that it would throw off suspicion from them, because if he goes straight to his brother's bag and take it out, you can say, you're setting us up. So to throw suspicion off, they start with the bags of his brothers first. And he went through them, knowing that it's not there. But then they took it out, the brothers' saddle bag. And they said, see, there it is, we have it, and so the Thomas then he bring it forth from his brother's bag, produced it. Now it shows that you people were lying, right? You people are lying. You see, this one that comes from his bag. So you've been lying to us, right? So what's the punishment? Right? What's the punishment? You don't tell me your punishment already, right? You don't tell me your punishment. So we're punishing him according to your law, right? We're going to punish him according to your law, not according to the Egyptian law. According to your law, we're going to punish him, all right? And this one is كذلك كدنا ليوسف, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and thus did we give a plan for Yusuf. We give this plan to Yusuf. This plan of using this way to be able to take his brother. Right? As Allah says, مَا كَانَ لِيَأْخُذْ أَخَاهُ فِي دِينِ الْمَلِكِ. Because according to the way of the king, the laws of the king, Egyptian law, he would not have been able to do that. Right? He would have to whip his brother, the brother, and then he would have paid the thing, and then he got free. Then he can let him go home. So that served the purpose for what Yusuf wanted. And so by making them identify the punishment according to the law, which of course Yusuf he knows was the law, what is their law. So he made them publicly state it, so now that it works in his favor, right? It will work in his favor. So he was able, he was able. Allah says, "Kadhalika kidna Yusuf." Allah says this whole plot, this whole planning was not something that just came to the idea of Yusuf and Benjamin. It was not just their idea to do this. It was directions from Allah to Yusuf. Right? It was directions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he gave this plot to Yusuf, to the strategy, right? Because you can call it a strategy. The strategy of Yusuf to be able to keep his brother, right? To be able to keep his brother with him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the strategy to use to get his brother. So it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Kadhalika kidna." This thus did we plot or strategize for Yusuf, right? This plan, because he would not have been able to do so according to the law of the king. He would not have been able to do so according to the law of the king. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the strategy on how he could operate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Yarfa darajat illa yasha." Allah says, "Narfa darajat man nasha," and we elevate in ranks whom we will. We elevate in ranks whom we will. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevated Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam above his brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does this just to elevate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam above all of all the Quraysh, all the people there. He elevated the Prophet above everyone, and he elevated the Prophet above all mankind. He elevated the Prophet over the prophets. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does the elevation. We don't elevate. Right? People who elevate themselves, Allah will pull them down. Right? That's why we shouldn't push ourselves up. We should always, when you elevate yourself, you can always tumble and fall. And the higher you go, the harder you fall. Right? The higher you go, the harder you fall. So those people who pump themselves up and push themselves up and pump them up, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just easy like that, Allah will topple them over. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will topple them over. So we should not pump ourselves up. We should not pull ourselves up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one who elevates. And when Allah elevates, no one can bring you down. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates, no one can down. This is one of the things that is important, one of the lessons important for us to learn from. Not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, narfa'u, right? We raise or elevate whom we will. And this, we should keep that in mind. Let Allah elevate us. And don't elevate yourself. Don't blow your own trumpet. Right? As they say, don't blow your own trumpet. I'm a good man. I'm that. No, don't blow your own trumpet. Because that kind of boasting, as Luqman alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentioned it is like the brain of a donkey. Right? He likened it to the brain of a donkey, the one who and he says the worst sound is the sound of the brain of a donkey. So don't elevate yourself and put yourself up. There's a very important principle. Be humble. We're humble when we're humble before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates you. When you're humble and submissive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though people in the eyes of people, you might be nobody, you will look down on you. Alright? But when you humble yourself and be submissive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevated. And this is not an idle story. We see this happen all the time. We see this happen all the time. I mean, even at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we see, the Arabs before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam declared his messengership, the Arabs were like, they were Bedouins. Nobody paid them any mind. Nobody paid them any mind. The civilizations, the leading civilizations of the day, the Romans and the Persians and Byzantines, that they used to look down on them. They used to treat, look at them, bunch of herdsmen in the desert. No culture, no language, no nothing. They look down on them. So that's how they work. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came, raised the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from among them, and elevate them above everybody else. Elevate them above the Romans and the Persians and the Byzantines. Right? He elevated them because that elevation is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? That elevation is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why, when Umar ibn Khattab was going to Jerusalem to receive the keys from to the city from the gatekeeper of the city, when the Muslims thing, and they said, we surrender, but we're not giving the keys to nobody except to your leader. So they sent the message to Umar. So Umar had to come there to receive the keys to the city, Jerusalem. And Umar, he came with his servant with him. And as they were traveling, they only had one animal. So Umar would ride for a short period of time, and the two would walk, and then he would get down, let the servant ride, and he walked. So the exchange, this exchange throughout till they come to the end. When they got the place, when they got the rain was heavy, a lot of rain, and so the place was absolutely muddy. So he come outside it before he get to, coming out of the city, it was his turn to ride, to walk, and the servant to ride. And the servant said, no, you should because we got to. He says, no, you ride. So he put him to ride and he walked. So by the time he got up to the outskirts, he said to come in, the outside the city to meet the Muslim leadership, they're waiting for him. By the time we get there to the camp, he's completely full of mud. His feet, his clothes, all muddy and stuff like this. And so the head of the army, the commander said to him, you're going to meet the head of the city, you want to change your clothes and, present yourself looking nice and stuff like that, So Omar says, what's wrong with my stuff? My clothes? He said, it's all dirty, muddy and all that stuff like that, He says, it's not my clothes going to meet him, it's I. It's not my clothes that meet him, it's I'm going to meet him. He says, I'm disappointed in you. He says, we were nobody. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came and brought Islam, gave us this deen, and elevated us to the status that we have right now. All right? And why so why you talk about this? Why are you worried about that? Allah is the one who elevated us. Not my clothes. So he went to this. When they saw him coming, Omar coming, the fellow, Bob said down to Omar. He says, yes, he is the real leader. And he bowed to him because he realized that the sincerity and submissiveness of things, and he was impressed with Yusuf, with Omar. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates us, and this is a very key point that we Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we raise in ranks whom we please, whom we want. And so we should leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to elevate us, and we should not pump ourselves up and so on. And so we begin and try to be big in the eyes of people, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. And we don't worry about people. Right? We should not worry about people. What people think and what people don't think is unimportant, because we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala despite whatever anybody thinks. We worship Allah despite what anybody thinks. That is not because we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ain't about pleasing nobody. You please Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take care of you. That's a serious point that we need to keep it. You don't have to please nobody but Allah. And if Allah is pleased with you, as the Prophet says, well, Allah, I don't worry about my situation is mess. I only concerned that you're pleased with me, that you're not displeased with me. That's when he's in the garden after coming from Ta'if. He says, as long as you're not displeased with me, I'm okay. I hear he's bleeding from the people from Ta'if stoning them and stuff like that. And he's saying, well, as long as you're not displeased with me, I'm good. I'm okay. And this is basically what we need to always adopt that position. Always be pleasing Allah. Look into Allah and be pleasing Allah, depend on Allah. And once we don't worry about nobody else. Because if Allah is pleased with you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of everybody else and make sure that there's actually an authentic hadith on that. Right? Where the Prophet says that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a person, he called Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, and he said, Jibreel, I love such and such a person, so you should love him. So Jibreel loved him. And then Jibreel goes to the angels and says, Allah loves such and such a person, so you all should love him too. So that person, and that goes on, that he says, and that goes on down and down till it comes down to the earth. Till even the plants and the people and the everything then show love to that individual. All right? Show good pleasure to that individual. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares it. So that we should always keep this in mind. Right? And this is a very important point that we can't overstress this. Turning to Allah and depending on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. And this, the number of explanations and stuff on it, there's a lot of talk about this particular point also, that says, above all those endowed with knowledge is the all-knowing. Or above anyone, what they said, above everyone with knowledge, there's one who knows more. And both aspects, both of it is correct, is okay, because above every level of knowledge, there is another level. There's always someone who knows more, right? And this is a standard principle. You never know. There's always somebody who knows more than you. It's always about. That's why when Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, when he born with Israel, and they ask him, who has the most knowledge? He says, I. And in reality, I'm going to Israel. Yes, he did. All right, he did it with one because he really wanted to receive revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah was talking to him, Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Musa, there's someone who knows more than you, who knows what you don't even know. And Musa said, what? What? I would like to meet that person. I would like to meet that person and learn something from them that I didn't know. And this is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed him to go and meet Khidr. Right? So this is when he went and he met Khidr. And Khidr did stuff that for him is like strange. What's wrong with you? So he asked Khidr to go with him, and Khidr said, look, man, I don't, you can't go with me, He said, beg, and Musa said, beg, I'm not gonna bother you on anything. So Khidr says, okay. Anything you see me do, don't say anything. Don't ask me anything about it until I explain it to you. He said, sure, I'm with that, you know. And they went, the first thing, they got on the boat. Musa forgot, you know, the Prophet said, Musa forgot, he actually forgot. Because he was scared. When they go in the boat, see you change the jungle, people out, what's wrong with you? So, you know, Musa reacted right away. Khidr says, you know, I told you, you can't, you know, you're not going to be patient. How can you be patient with stuff you can't even understand? How can you be patient with stuff you yourself don't understand? Because you don't know what's going on. This stuff is above you. Because Khidr is receiving the instructions from Allah. The instructions that is not given to Musa. So he's receiving his instructions from Allah and he's doing what Allah sent him to do. And Musa is completely baffled. You know, who you doing this stuff, man? What you doing? Till, you know, of course, they had a part in the way. So there's always someone above. And of all the one, who got the most knowledge on the earth, still above them is the all-knower. The all-knower. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah knows everything. God is nobody above Allah. No one above Allah. Allah knows everything. And there's no one like Allah that knows everything. So only Allah knows everything. So above every level of knowledge, there is another level of knowledge. And above every knower, there is a knower until we reach to the all-knower, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows everything. Who knows everything. And so this ayah, this statement emphasizes this particular point, right? You don't know everything, and nobody should think that they know everything. You know, as it says, the saying goes, you know, you are knowledgeable as long as you are learning, right? You are knowledgeable as long as you are learning. And when you reach the point that you think you know it all, then you become ignorant. Then you become ignorant. Because no one knows everything. And the one who thinks he knows everything is an ignorant person. So as long as you're learning, and you know you're learning, then you are knowledgeable. Because to know that you don't know and admit it is part of knowledge. Right? To know that you don't know and admit that, right? Accept that is a part of knowledge. It is ignorance to not know and don't know that you don't know. It's profound ignorance. All right. So the knowledge, you know, you always accept that you don't know. The scholars, this is a fundamental principle that the scholars admit. Saying I don't know is part of knowledge. Right? Saying I don't know is part of knowledge. That's why, and you know, Imam went to a particular area and they heard that he's coming to that area, so the people sent people with a lot of questions to ask him. And they asked him the questions, and these questions, you know, he answered about 2 or 3 questions. And they sent him 10, 15, 20 questions, some of them, you will answer 2 or 3 questions. Most of the questions he says, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And the people, you know what, they tell us, you know what I mean, they tell us, come to you and ask the question, and you know, you will think, you know, and you tell him, you don't know. Why can't you go tell the people? He said, go and tell them. He said, you don't know. Tell them that I said, I don't know. So that was, you know, it's part of knowledge to say you don't know. And to know, because you know that you don't know, acknowledge that you don't know. Because when you don't acknowledge that you don't know, then you start adding stuff or making stuff up, and you go You start making up stuff. And so you're creating falseness. You're creating false by making up stuff. You're talking out your head now. All right? So you should always stay, know your boundary of knowledge and stay there. And when you don't know, say, well, I don't know. And there's no sin. There's no shame in saying, I don't know. There's no shame. There's nothing to say, I don't know. Right? Because if you do not acknowledge that you don't know, you'll never learn. You'll never learn. If you think you know what I mean? As I said, you cannot add anything to a full cup. A cup that is full, you can't add anything to it. So you got to accept that, I'm not quite full to be able to receive, more. And this is a fundamental principle in relation to this, Inshallah, I think, if we have any questions from the brothers, we should run out of time. If there's any questions, inshallah.
On this, is it hadith, I know it says, Qawlu la adri nisful ilm. That I don't know. Saying,
Yes.
Is it a hadith? Qawlu la
It's a
adri.
saying. It's just one saying.
It's a just okay.
Yeah, it's a saying of the scholars. The saying of the scholars. Saying I don't know is part of it.
Is that what when Allah was teaching Khidr? Well, Musa didn't know that's the little for that. We use that as the little. That Allah revealing to Khidr, Allah said we don't realize we use that as the little. That you're very limited in your knowledge.
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear. For the police, they're living alim. As I said, to use that as an example, that there's always someone who knows more than you. Right? That's why you shouldn't think that you know everything. Right? Because there are those someone who will know more than you. There's always someone. That's why when Musa said he was the one that he knew this. That's why Allah said because he didn't know. Musa didn't know. He didn't know. Musa didn't know. Right? But Allah told me, there's a servant of mine who knows stuff you don't know. So he said, I need to meet him. So that's when Allah said to meet Khidr. And he goes and meet Khidr. And the story Khidr was doing stuff that he didn't have a clue what he was doing.